Namaste, everyone. Om Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikapanaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetamritaduhe Namaha. When we take a look again and again at this Bhagavad Gita, especially chapter 3 of this great text, it becomes clear to us that there is such ample practical advice for us to live our day in a wiser way. In fact, the tragedy of human life is we all have this tendency to get bored with what we have heard before and to get curious about something new. That is the problem with a whole lot of really good self-development workshops also, motivational workshops. Whatever the speaker share with us is not false. It will work. But even as we get excited by the weekend program or the 3-day camp or the 5-day intensive retreat and so on, after a couple of days when we come home, everything wears out. And with all due respect to those who conducted those wonderful workshops or camps or retreats, we are looking for something new. The Shastras, like the Bhagavad Gita, actually have said it all, have said such things which are directly relevant to our daily life. Take, for example, Sri Krishna's emphasis on doing our duty, giving our best to the society, to the institutions where we belong, to people around us, and as always we have said, to the person living next to us, with us, under the same roof. It's so true that we must give our best. And what is more, Lord Krishna is not imposing anything on us. He is only revealing to us what is already the truth, already the reality. Like Newton did not bring gravitation to this world. He only discovered the law of gravity, which was operational from the beginning of time. Likewise, the principles of Karma Yoga have been true from the beginning of creation. Lord Krishna himself uses that expression, Sahayadna Pura Srishtva Purovacha Prajapati Sahayadnaha Prajasri Pura Uvacha. In the ancient times, Prajapati had said it. The Karma Yoga is an open secret. Anyone and everyone can tap into it, receive the benefit, and grow. Alas, a large number of people do not follow Karma Yoga, and it is like putting our hand in fire and getting burnt. Selfish work is worse than fire. Fire burns only the physical hand. Selfishness, selfish ways of living burn us 24 hours a day with agitation, conflict, dissatisfaction, turmoil, fear, anxiety. You name it, they are the result of being selfish. Alas, we don't want to let go of selfishness. We always look for some shortcut. Eknath Ishwaran had given a simple illustration. Somebody was walking by, and on the side of the road there was a big rock, and it was written on the rock, "Below me there is a valuable advice." This man or this lady had studied enough of all sorts of wisdom, but forgetting all that, he gets curious. What could be the advice hidden here? With great effort, he pushes that rock, and lo, there was indeed a piece of paper below that rock. And the man is excited. Here perhaps is the solution to all my problems. My life will get all right if I follow this advice. Let me read what it is. And when he reads that piece of paper, all it says is, when you have not followed the advice you received so far in life, why do you need another piece of advice? So he moves on. Therefore, Sri Krishna's advice is eternally valid. Well, we saw up to the 17th verse in the last class. Yastu atmaratireva syad apnatraptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. This rule, which applies to 99.9% of humanity, that we must do our work, does not apply to that 0.1% of the same humanity that we are. Who are those? Those who have an abundant supply of vairagya, viveka. They have the eyes of wisdom. When things that attract others come before their eyes, at one look they know that this is a trap. This pleasure, this power, this position, this glamour is a trap. I have seen enough of it. They cannot give me true happiness. They will tickle me a little bit, and afterwards I am into pure misery. All that without using these words, the lady who has this evolved consciousness figures out in a jiffy. She is called Atmarati, Atmakridaha, Atmanishtaha, and Atmani eva santushtaha. And Adi Shankara also said, Sarvataha Vita Trishnaha. At a time, all of us had our Trishna. Trishna means longing. Trishna compares with how in English we have the word thirst. So there is a thirst. We want to drink more. We want to drink even more. We want to savor the pleasures of the world. Whether we are thirsty or not, there is the psychological thirst. Sarvataha Vita Trishnaha. Not easy. Sometimes to an extent, as we get older, we let go of our desires. But that is only to an extent, not very reliable. True departure from worldly longings is when we do the required sadhana. We must do Shravana and Manana, and we must do Anushtana. Not just to fill the head with more and more bookish knowledge. Anushtana. Anushtana means actual practices. You don't have to imitate somebody. Work out your own way. Work out your own method, keeping in mind laws of nature, keeping in mind your own body, what the body biologically demands. Do not deny to the body its necessary rest. Do not deny to the body the necessary amount of nutritious food. There was some brahmachari who was not eating enough and was unable to meditate, unable to do japa, feeling tired and so on. Then somebody told him, you are very foolish. Just eat properly and sleep well, then see your meditation will improve. And that brahmachari later on did that. His energy levels rose, his enthusiasm, his cheerfulness increased, and he was able to work more, meditate more, study better, everything. So there is a certain simple, call it science or call it common sense. Every one of us has to work it out for oneself. One cannot go by some timetable somebody has given, nor can you go by your own timetable, which you have written down under some influence, under some conditioning, under some previous background. No. Look at the whole situation with fresh eyes, without compromising with age-old principles. Do not at the same time be a duplicate of somebody's idea. You have your own way. As one of the motivational speakers makes a remark, very thought-provoking remark. I'll say this and then go further. The author writes that people who achieve a lot actually rest very well. They rest very well. Even if it is, some odd time, they go to bed and then sleep for 8 hours maybe. But the main thing is, once they have finished that 8 hours of solid rest, maybe they wake up at 2:30 a.m., which is probably a bit unnatural time to get up, but they listen to the body. They have had their rest. 2:30 to maybe mornings, 8:30, 6 hours, they then work on some work which has been pending or which has been demanding their attention with all concentration. There is a lot said by different authors about increasing our own productivity, but even those authors who give us 100 tips warn us, don't be a second-hand personality. Understand how your body works and find the original yourself and achieve your goals in your own way with, on one hand, being free, on the other, being honest. Be honest to yourself. If something doesn't work for you, admit this doesn't work for me. I let go of this approach. And when something works for you, be loyal to it. Stay with it. Therefore, the art of living is indeed at once very simple. It requires a lot of common sense, and on the other hand, so difficult. Because we carry so many influences. People have influenced us. So, in the 18th verse now, which we pick up, Sri Krishna says, Naiva tasya krutenartho na kruteneha kaschana nachasya sarva bhuteshu Kaschidartha Vyapashrayah. Referring to that exceptional case of a lady or a gentleman who has, thanks to the sadhana she or he has done before, instant perception of danger, instant understanding of what should not be done. And as a result, they have, in the traditional language, already gained a high degree of chitta shuddhi, purity of mind. When somebody has such a high degree of chitta shuddhi, tasya kritena na arthaha. By doing even some so-called selfless service, she doesn't have to get anything. Artha means prayojana here. And some other place, by not doing, she will not lose anything. You don't gain anything by pushing yourself to do something. You don't lose anything by keeping away from that work. That means you are utterly free to do or not to do. It's totally an option with you. Nachasya sarva bhuteshu kaschidartha vyapashrayah. Sometimes you and I depend on somebody. In order that one of our needs, genuine needs, is fulfilled, we depend on somebody. But in the case of real viraktas, they don't depend upon anyone. Vyapashraya means dependence. Sarva bhuteshu na kaschid vyapashraya. So this verse emphasizes, reiterates what was said in the previous verse, that there are a minuscule percentage of humanity. I called it 0.1%. That is a random figure. And what does it mean? They don't have to tread the path of karma yoga. Santa Jnaneshwar in his commentary says, somebody who has used a boat and gone to the other bank of a river doesn't have to hold on to the boat. He can leave the boat on the other bank and walk on, moves on. You and I travel, and once the entire travel is over, our tickets, our boarding pass, some documents, travel documents, can even be dispensed away. We don't need it. Don't bring in some reimbursement or some other. That's a different matter. But you don't need the boarding pass to board the flight. You boarded, you flew, you landed on the other side. As far as the travel is concerned, the ticket and the boarding pass are no more necessary. Likewise, as far as the spiritual travel is concerned, karma yoga is no more necessary. Adi Shankara says, Naiva tasya. To such a person, who is this person? If you were to ask, very patiently, very compassionately, Bhashyakara says, oh, you forgot? We are talking about that exceptional human being, lady or man, who is utterly content in herself. Paramatmarati, whose enjoyment, whose happiness, whose peace, whose bliss is in the self. Not gold, not some honor, some felicitation, some award. They do not mean anything to her. Paramatmarati. And then the shloka says, Naivatasya kritena arthaha. Krita means by doing. Acharya Shankara therefore writes, Kritena means karmana, doing something. Prayojanam na asti. Then By doing, she may not get anything, but in life there are occasions. By doing, you don't get anything. But if you don't do, there may be a price to pay. There are many social functions where you and I attend out of such consideration. By going, neither we get anything nor the people who have invited us get anything. There are 500 people attending and we too show our face, hello, namaste, and so on, formalities. But many a time, last minute we say, well, I'm so busy, I don't want to go. I don't get anything by going there, nor do they need my presence. I have no role to play there except being present, but I had better go. So we go. Why? A part of our mind says, if we don't go, that will be misunderstood. That will be misunderstood as we don't care anymore for that family. We don't care for if it's a wedding, the bride or the bridegroom. It will send out a wrong signal. So to avoid sending a wrong signal, we say, let's go and attend the program. Some smart people try to trim the whole thing. They show and they don't stay for the dinner or the prasad. They come at the muhurat and they just pose for a photograph. Sign the attendance register in an idiomatic sense and leave. Whatever. Then that is taken up. Na akritena kaschana. By not doing karma yoga, once more, by doing karma yoga, they may not stand to gain anything. But probably by not doing karma yoga, they may stand to lose something. No, these people are utterly free. Astu tarhi. So be it. They don't have anything to gain by karma yoga. But there is another akritena, akaranena, pratyavaya akhyaha. This is a Shastriya Shabda, technical word. Pratyavaya is, in the Shastras, some harm that will come to you if you don't do something. Traditionally, a young boy is given Gayatri Upadesha and is told, you have to do 108 times Gayatri Japa in the morning and 108 times in the evening. There it is said, by doing you will get some benefits. By not doing, don't think nothing will happen. If you don't do, there will be some sin, some impurity will enter into you. By doing, old impurities will go. By not doing, new impurities will come to you. Just as a copper vessel you have cleaned very well with tamarind or with one of those chemicals, some powder, which is so good, with a little bit of that chemical, and then at the end with some regular soap, you wash the copper vessel, it's shining so brightly. And then you say, I'll not touch it now. You keep it in a corner. As days pass, the shine on the copper vessel will reduce, and reduce. Likewise, by not doing karma yoga, however pure-minded you might have been at a given point of time, somebody may warn you, over a few days, you will again become worldly. The shloka, and in accordance with it, Adi Shankara also says, this doesn't happen in the case of this evolved person. It's like a satellite or a rocket that has attained its escape velocity and exits the gravitational domain of the earth. Then it keeps going in space and it's almost zero gravity scenario. Likewise, the Atmatripta, Atmarati, Atmanyeva keeps going. Shankara says, Pratyavaya Akhyaha Anartaha Pi Na. Akritena iha loke kaschana kaschidapi pratyavaya prapti rupa atmani lakshanaha va naiva asti. No harm will come to such a person. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, the expert dancer, even by mistake, does not put a wrong step. He just dances perfectly. So, Nachasya sarva bhuteshu brahmadi stavaranteshu. From the four-faced Brahma on top is the top of the creation, up to stavara, stump of a tree or a tree. It doesn't have to be a stump. A tree that doesn't move, a hill that doesn't move. From Brahma to a tree, from nobody this lady needs to receive. Brahmadi stavaranteshu artha vyapashraya prayojana nimitta kriya sadhya vyapashraya. So one simple word, alambanam, dependence. Kanchit bhuta vishesham ashritya na sadhya kaschidartha. There is nothing that needs to be accomplished with the help of somebody. Some bhuta, bhuta meaning prani, living being, humans, animals, or any, right? Therefore, if there were to be such, then tadartha kriya anushtheya syat. Tadartha, for that purpose, work needs to be done. So, these two verses made a departure from the original emphasis on karma yoga, because the consideration was of those people who are a very, very small percentage, who are so well established in their viveka and vairagya. Connecting the next verse, natvam etasmin vartase. You are not in that camp. Whether you like it or not, Arjuna, dear, you are not in their camp. What is their camp? Samyak darshane. They are people who, on one hand, are constantly seeing the limitations of the world, and equally so, constantly are beholding the beauty, the glory, the greatness of the pure self. That is called Samyak Darshana. Samyak Darshane stitahate tvam Samyak Darshane na tishtasi, na vartase. And moreover, the Samyak Darshana, to use an expression that came in the second chapter, is Sarvataha Sampluta Udaka Staniyaha, or Staniyam Samyak Darshanam. This is the situation where there is water everywhere. Sarvata Samplutodaka. Udaka means water. Sarvata Samplutodake. So there was that shloka, Yavanartha Udapane Sarvata Samplutodake Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanataha, in the second chapter. When there is water everywhere, just in our backyard, even in our front yard, this well in this side of the house, that little well in this side of another side of the house, all of them have plenty of water. Why should we go a mile away to collect water from a pond or from somebody else's well, when we have water right in our own compound? Likewise, when someone is so well established in Viveka, why would one have to do Karma Yoga? You are not in that category. Natvam vartase, natvam tishtasi, na bhavan tishtati, tasmin samyak darshane, Yasmat evam, because it is so, as far as you are concerned, and friends, all of us also are in Arjuna's camp. Though here and there Vedanta makes us feel so good, alas, on a proper 360-degree feedback. That is the word they use in the corporate world. Somebody speaks well, that's not 360 degrees. Speaking well, writing well is only, maybe out of 360-degree circle. Good communication, maybe 90 degrees. What about another 270 degrees? So there are a lot of other things. Technical knowledge about the subject, and then handling finance, then handling relationship with team members, being able to follow when you have to follow, being able to lead when you have to lead. So all these are different qualities. Therefore, many, corporate coaches, CEO coaches, and so on, developed this expression, 360 degrees feedback. They evaluate a CEO, or for that matter, any executive, or for that matter, anybody in any discipline, from all different angles of view. Even in ashrams, there are some people who, wow, get up at 4 a.m. every morning and take bath, even if it is sharp winter. And then they do yoga, then they sit in meditation. You say, my God, he is a real sadhu. But later on, you do a 360-degree analysis. In the class, in the Vedanta class, the student sits like a stone. When the Acharya cracks a joke, there is no smile. When the Acharya talks about something very, serious and that makes everybody sad, again, no expression. Is he a stone or is he a human being? So you find in the 360-degree analysis, alas, the brahmachari who has otherwise marvelous self-discipline fails. Then there are those intellectuals who are so wonderful in the class. They answer all the questions. They have very good control on language and this and that. Or even they have good PR abilities. Somebody comes to the ashram, this other brahmachari or brahmacharini is able to talk to those devotees and guests or visitors, take them around and make them, impress them so well. But when it comes to self-control, lunchtime, there are some gulab jamuns. You find that brahmachari laughing and taking a second one, a third one, if possible, and so on. And so, no discipline. These are just 2 areas. There are 20 areas. There are 30 areas. Human psychology is very complex. Therefore, Arjuna, at times you may feel you are all set for realization. Don't be sure, double check. Do a 360-degree analysis. You and I too might feel so excited about Vedanta, but have we really forgiven people who have hurt us? Have we done what is fair to everyone associated with us? Have we overcome all partiality? And not only in relationships, with regard to our own personal life, do we avoid wrong things when we think nobody is watching? Or do we do right things again when we think nobody is watching? Nobody is watching whether I do my yoga or not. So I will skip yoga for the 8th day in a row. Somebody says, yeah, nobody is watching. Nobody knows whether you did yoga or not. Nobody knows whether you did prayer or not, etc. But whether anybody knows or not, you got to do, or you got to, whatever sadhana you feel, your conscience says you must do, have you been doing? Or is it only in the classes, whether you are speaking or listening? It is only the classes that you experience a high. Then in the 360-degree analysis, you are not there yet. Not yet there. Almost there, but not quite, as they say. So 19th verse is an excellent verse, is almost like a summary. Just the first half is enough. Let's see what 19th verse says. Yataha Arjunaha samyak darshane na vartate tataha tasmadasaktaha satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Tasmat. Tasmat means therefore. So thank God Bhashyakara gave a connection. Otherwise, in a hurried reading, people may think, oh, because there are some people who are not in need of karma yoga, therefore you must do karma yogas. The link is missing. Because there are some people who don't need karma yoga, and the missing link is because you don't belong in that category. You don't belong to that group. Therefore, you do karyam karma. When the emphasis is on doing, and in no way it means do all sorts of things. Do things in a haphazard manner. Accept any invitation, any request. One of the authors says, it's better to do one significant piece of work for which you are made, for which you have the competence, for which you are uniquely, oriented. It's better to do one great work than do 1,000 mediocre pieces of work. Running everywhere, going everywhere, trying to do social service also, business also, attending to needs of all relatives, first cousins, second cousins, and trying to be a god in the villages, trying to be a blessing to poor people, to sick people, trying to be a good son also, good cousin also, good philanthropist also, good writer also, good speaker also, good traveler also. Anything and everything one is fascinated and one wants to do. Then you are gone. So we agree with that author. Do one wonderful thing for which people will truly appreciate you, than doing 100 things with mediocrity. That is, very, mediocre. Something which has no excellence. Something which has nothing that people would praise. People would say, this anybody can do. This anyone can do. Why did you have to get into it? Anyone with no skills could do this. So, why I am saying all this? The word karyam is very important. Sri Krishna says, karma samachara, do work. Which work? Karyam karma, duty. Sri Krishna is not unlike these authors and some motivational speakers who, in order that their books sell better, always talk about becoming famous, becoming rich, and leaving a mark behind in the society. So there is a certain flowery language. which is like the carrot held before the donkey. Looking at the carrot, the donkey moves further and further without realizing that the carrot is hanging from a long stick which is tied on the back of the donkey. More the donkey moves, the carrot also moves further. So this fame, this name, this recognition, this glitter and glamour of the world are not what Sri Krishna emphasizes. He says such success, such glamour, such fame, at best, if at all. Not necessary, but if they come, they are side products. Success and name and fame are side products. The main product is you have done what needs to be done. Karyam is kartavyam. You do your duty. You do your swadharma. You find out not what makes me famous, but what it is that I can give to people, which probably many others cannot. What it is which I can give, which is very much in line with the unique skills that God has given me. I have such and such skills. There was the instance many years ago of a young black girl in America. She was 18 or something. And she saw how a mother during delivery passed away. Child was born, but the mother passed away. And the 18-year-old black girl was so disturbed. And she just asked, can I be a nurse who attends to delivery cases and so on? And she just checked up a little bit and she found she has that inclination. And she went on to become a nurse, especially whatever you call midwife or one of those who is into, facilitating deliveries. And I saw a short piece on the television many years ago. She perhaps made it to the Guinness Book of World Records or so later on, with such skill and such dexterity and such passion, such involvement. She felt at home. She was so much at home with that profession. She became a delivery nurse or midwife. And of course, some doctors would always be there, but she was of such great help. And numerous deliveries. Sometimes at odd places, not necessarily in hospitals and in proper operation theatre, etc. At all kinds of odd places, she would help out women in need. So, let me say this and proceed. It's not a dry and boring list of these are my duties. I don't like them. And anyhow, Geeta says, for Krishna's sake, I will do these duties. You should not think that duties are of that kind. In the science of life, duties are always such things by doing which you will be deriving a great satisfaction. We are made for certain works and such things come to us as duties. If you say, no, sometimes certain things come to us where we have no joy at all. First of all, it may be a temporary affair, but more importantly, that is because you have not been living alertly. You have been getting attached to people, promising and getting involved, signing up, as they say. You sign up for all sorts of things and then actions where you don't have the skill, where you don't have the passion, surround you. You are neck deep in things which are paradharma. And then you cry, I don't know. I don't know when I will be freed from all this. Who bound oneself? It is you only because of your aviveka, bound yourself by those, unnecessary things. Therefore, in spirituality, the golden word is alertness, awareness. If you live day after day in higher awareness, very soon you will find that, as Paulo Coelho or somebody would use the expression, the entire world will conspire to bring you to the heart of your Swadharma. You will not have Paradharma in your life. Out of that awareness, out of that alertness, you will have insights by which, even if there are some other duties which you got to do, you will be smart enough to engage right people. Indra Nui has brought out her autobiography just a while ago. It was reviewed in major newspapers. Indra Nui. In fact, she is so smart. A girl from Tamil Nadu in a traditional family where girls were discouraged from higher education or taking up work, etc. Somehow she made it to, I guess, MBA from IIM Kolkata, then goes abroad without, you all know her. Indra Nui became the CEO for many years of the world-renowned company, PepsiCo. You think she didn't have family responsibilities? She had to raise her children. She had to look after sometimes even elderly people. But with her passion for her Swadharma and her intelligence operating all the time with some alertness, is there a better way of getting this done? Or should I get stuck in it? She found various ways. In her book, she mentions many cases where she ensured that what was expected of her got done, because sometimes spending money, sometimes by talking to somebody, she would get all other things done by a proper team. And she could focus on her own Swadharma. Worked hard. Some years ago, also I had watched a YouTube video how she says she would sleep at about 12:30. Last half an hour she would read newspapers. Or no, morning, I think. Whatever. So, and early morning, 4:30, she's up and active again. We don't have to imitate her. We don't have to become carbon copy, as the old expression goes. Now we may have to say, scanned copy. So, Paradharma will find its place. You will actually succeed in being centered in Swadharma, with no injustice to spouse, children, elderly parents, society, etc., etc. There is an art of living. That's what Sri Krishna says. Karyam karma samachara. Do your duty. Overcome your likes and dislikes. Find out why you sometimes lack enthusiasm, lack energy. Maybe you have not been eating well. Maybe you have not been resting well. Maybe you have not been, restraining yourself in talking. Maybe you talked too much on phone with somebody. And then you say, oh, and so why did you have to talk so much? And some other time you didn't talk. That could cause agitations. You had to say something you did not out of some complex. Then it causes, there is a whole, science of living, but at the heart of it all is constant self-examination. Sri Krishna doesn't mince words when in the second half he says, asaktaha acharan karma. The word asakta also is extremely important here, comes twice. Tasmad asaktaha karyam karma samachara, asakto hi acharan karma. Asakta, unattached to what that I, me and my gets. my pleasure, my prestige, my gratification. So egoistic satisfaction. Don't be attached to egoistic returns. Don't be attached to gratification of the ego in you. That is the idea. Don't mistake it as work without any attachment to the work, without any passion for work. Work, saying openly, I don't like this work, but Geeta says I have to do so. I am doing in a detachment, pulling a long face. That is not what Sri Krishna says. If you are asakta, unattached to the personal reward and so on, which is fake, which is false according to Vedanta, rather than pulling a long face, you will be so enthusiastic. You will be so cheerful. Param apnoti. You will attain the supreme. Param means supreme. The commentary by Shankara is very simple. Asaktaha is sanga varjitaha. And satatam, each word deserves much contemplation constantly. Don't say, I do karma yoga every once in 15 days. Don't do once in 15 days. Once in a blue moon, as the expression goes. Sarvada, says Shankara. Karyam means kartavyam. Nityam samachara. Nirvartaya. Yasmat, because asaktaha samacharan. And Shankaracharya adds very valuable additional factors. Ishwarartham. When you do not gratify the ego, like the other side of the same coin, you are actually pleasing God. Because it is the whole battle is between God and ego. God, the real, and ego, the false. Ishwarartham karma kuruvan param moksham apnoti. Of course, through jnana. Therefore, sattva shuddhi dvarena, says Acharya Shankara. Sattva shuddhi dvarena adau jnana yogyatam prapnoshi. You get the ability, the fitness to receive the liberating understanding, and that ability, that fitness, that eligibility comes from karma yoga. And then when you actually receive that liberating outlook about oneself, about the world, that's what Vedanta does. Then param apnoshi. Param is the supreme moksha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.